Welcome to this week's episode of Tech on Tap. My name is Adam Herman with DataBank's technical team. Today we're going to be focusing in on not letting bad data hold you back. We continue to see large organizations that continue to scale, but run into issues with the way that their data is or isn't even structured. It's holding them back from those next initiatives that they're looking to take on. Today we're really going to get into creating a foundation with good data and the processes that go with it as I bring my guests to speak with us. We have something special for you today. We actually have two of our technical services team members to join us.
Hi, I'm Jim, Technical Services Manager at DataBank. I've been here at DataBank for about 16 years and in the industry for about 25 plus.
And I'm Becky Schroeder. I manage our internal processes and I've been here about 7 years.
Next up is our beer review today. These beers were actually brought here from Becky. These beers are from North Dakota, just like her accent. There's a lot of yasser you betchas coming out of her. So this is Drecker beer. Becky is a sour beer fan, so today we're going to start with a sour beer. This sour beer has actually got a little bit higher ABV of 7.5, which isn't too bad for a sour beer. It actually has strawberry and white chocolate flavor with it as well. So I'm going to go ahead here and get us each a beer. So Becky, how about you talk a little bit about North Dakota?
You're just trying to bait me into my accent.
I should know. So Jim is actually not from around here. Jim, where are you from?
I am from Rhode Island. In case you didn't pick up on my accent, it's not quite the North Dakota accent, but close enough to Boston to say, this is a wicked cool event.
Cool event. And for everyone that's had to watch every episode with me, obviously know I'm from Minnesota, so you're gonna hear that accent as we go. First off, we're taking a quick look at that. Those are okay pours. I could have done better. We're gonna definitely have a very strawberry flavored beer going on here today. So what do you guys think here?
I could mistake that for soda, AKA pop.
Yeah, I'm tasting that too. And I know we're gonna try to give it a good rating here today or so, but for the North Dakota beer, if you had to take a guess what your palate says out of a 5-scale rating, what would you give her?
I would rate this really high. For like a sour beer, because I do love sour beers, but sometimes they get too sour. So that like the white chocolate in it is amazing.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. The sweetness that kind of melds with the sour is really good.
Yeah.
So it's not bite your tongue and tilt your head back. It's more of it's really smooth. I'd give it a high rating too.
Would you give it out of a 5-scale rating?
I'd give it a 5. Seriously,
5?
like sometimes they get too sour.
I'd give it a 4. Might be a little bit heavy after a few of these.
Let's see here. I'd probably go with about a 4 rating as well. It's a really light beer. I think anyone that likes ciders or sour beers or even anything with a seltzer in it's gonna like this kind of a beer.
Absolutely.
So our issue today that we're going to be talking about is unusable data. So internally, we've seen issues with that. And as we continue to grow as an organization, finding ways to solve. Jim, you're working with our customers every day and they're seeing it. From the customer side, Jim, what are some of the main issues we're seeing with bad data?
I think some of the issues we're seeing with customers' bad data is that they're trying to archive other systems. They're taking all of the disparate data from an application that they're going to sunset. They pull it into the system, they pull it into a database, expect to be able to reuse that data in the same methodology that they would have in a specific app. But what happens is you bring in a lot of attributes, unnecessary data, and now it becomes a little bit in the unmanageable side. So it's really about, what can you get in there that's valued versus what's unimportant data.
So a lot of this you're saying we're seeing is from migrations from legacy systems, trying to do some integrations with data. Data sets.
Exactly. That's what we're seeing a lot of out in our customer sector for sure.
Why do you think once they start bringing the data in, it's actually not mapping out?
A lot of times it has to do with, it's more about the archive process and less about the data that they're bringing over. So nobody's really going through the process. They want to bring everything, right?
Yep.
Leave nothing, It's for prosperity's sake. We have to do some type of legal lookup. We have to be able to produce this downstream. But without the original application, a lot of that information that comes over really isn't that important. It's disparate data, it's attributes, it's things that were more pertinent to the old retired legacy app versus the storage of that data and how they can report on it, how they can map from it, how they can leverage it within their regular daily processes.
Becky, internally, we've seen some issues with our data, especially when we're trying to do new initiatives. What are some of the things that you've seen? Let's just even go with 2023 now that we're in 24.
Some things I've seen with the bad data are, we're just trying to make decisions off the data. That's hard to always trust based on the reports we have. We can run into misleading metrics, even issues with customer satisfaction if we don't have good data in there that's showing us scheduling and staffing and just helping us make decisions on things that we need to even be more efficient. I work a lot with project managers, and to not have data that we can use for them really hurts efficiencies.
I know from a high level view, I like to see at least where areas of concern may be or where we're doing well. And when that data's not there, you're making a lot of assumptions and then doing a lot of digging later to try to validate.
Right, yep.
So, Jim, with some of the solutions that we've been seeing too, have you seen limitations after we've been bringing data in?
I think so. I mean, a lot of times having excessive data potentially tied to a content object like a document or a Word doc or a PDF, sometimes that data is insufficient to really know about what the content is. And that's where people tend to need other means to extract the data that's within the content, because that's really the reportable data. So if you think about something like lab reports in a hospital setting or a physician setting, the content within those documents is what's important, because that can help you to isolate demographics, can help you to hone in on a specific type of patient that may be suspect to a certain illness or disease based on their age, based on their nationality, etc. So those are the things that in the health side of the industry, that's where everybody wants to move to be able to use AI or to be able to use the data and be preventative moving forward, to isolate patients that are coming in. If I'm 50 years old, am I potentially a suspect of a certain illness? Can it be prevented if I do a certain measure? So that's the data is, it could be the insurance industry. Maybe it's a liability factor, right? You're writing policies and it's caustic or it's combustible material that you're going to be working with. They like to know what the potential risk is. So when they look downstream, what should they be writing the policy for on the commercial side? What are the potential risks? And use that data that's part of the content. So sometimes it's not always about the index data, but it's actually about the content. So we can begin to extract that and use that referenceable data. That's where it becomes more of a tool as opposed to a repository.
So we're starting to get into the goal of analytics.
Exactly.
And the index values in the fields that have been brought in originally from those legacy systems are not enough to go there.
Exactly.
In a summary, okay. Becky, internally we do a lot of metrics. We're a services organization, so we need to see how well we're doing in projects, how well we're doing with utilization in our teams, support satisfaction, customer success. What issues have you seen trying to bring all that data together? Because we've had a lot of dashboarding initiatives lately.
Honestly, some of the issues aren't even just bad data, but just the lack of data, just the lack of people inputting the information. And so we work to build in validations to stop that to happen, but you can't validate everything at this point in our system. So you still have to rely on people to enter that data. So it's really hard to pull it together when it's really just not even there.
So what I'm really hearing right now is there's a lack of understanding of the data that we have going in, a lack of planning, just a straight up lack of data. And the fact is we've been using old data and the limitations of what we had. So now we're really looking to expand on where we are to actually go to the next level for analytics, for dashboarding, for improving how our businesses work. Fair?
Yep.
Now that we talked about the issues, I'd really like to get into some solutions and how we've solved any use cases we have too around that. So Becky, internally we talked about some of the data issues that we've had. The good thing is there are solutions for everything. We've come up with solutions for a lot of our issues, which has actually been a lot of fun, especially when you get to see the results. Do you maybe want to go into a few of the things we've had to do?
Yeah, some of the things we've done are just adding validation to our system to catch them, to be preventative rather than reacting to all the issues. But So we've been preventing a lot. We've also been working towards a tool that will allow us to, a .comp type tool that will allow us to create reports, create documents for our project managers. And so they're seeing the value of the data. So before, where they really weren't using it, and it was maybe me or you running reports and needing that data to be accurate, now they're seeing the value because they are using it. And that has helped tremendously.
What about with some of our customers, Jim? What have you been seeing lately that we've been coming up with?
Well, one of the things that I've seen is when a customer generally does their own migration, they kind of go for that all or nothing approach, or they use a bare minimum. But one of the things that we do with our approach is that we validate, right? We really work on the work before. It's like prep. If you're gonna maybe paint a car or paint a wall, you'd prep that wall, you'd sand it, you do it. Well, our validation process is really all about bringing over those mappings, right? And asking those questions up front. Because a lot of times it's, if you go with the all approach or the minimal approach, you're not really hitting on the things that you want. So it was one of the things that we ran into with a customer. They just had so many data fields in there that was compound data. And it wasn't very easy for them to get any reporting out of it to do anything. So we actually had to assist them with a SQL query to go back and do some automation, because otherwise all of that correction work would have fallen into a manual process. So we saved them obviously hours and hours of FTE time, but more importantly, we were able to isolate any exceptions within their data. And that's, sometimes that's those outliers can really throw what you may get in the dashboard result, what you may get in terms of other reporting processes. So those are the things that we've helped our customers with. We do have a really good SQL team. When we go in with a very objective approach, not like, hey, this is how you should do it because this is how we did it there. Everything's really kind of custom. We look at the process, we look at the need, and we look at the data. When you take all of those elements together and say, well, what can we do? That's where we kind of just jump in and really, put together a plan that's going to be beneficial, right? So where do I start? What do I have? But what do I want at the end? And that's the most important piece of data conversions and mining.
So you're really getting into the understanding the problem at a time and doing some of the pre-planning with our customers.
Exactly.
Becky, you went right into the technology used and how we were going to do that. If you were to go ahead and come up with other solutions that we've used technology-wise, Jim, what have we done outside of the data migration side?
We've gone in and done more than just data migrations. We've gone in and we've done data validation. We've looked at systems where there were orphans within that system, helped the customer to clean those up, which then, now you have data that's a little bit more realistic and true, as opposed to data that's full of flaws and garbage in, garbage out kind of stuff.
Becky, when we went through and we used the technology piece, there was a lot more than just throwing in the tools. There was a lot of planning involved. I know I had a lot of asks that we didn't have, and we had solutions for it. What I'm really starting to see as we go through the solutioning is everyone has these problems, and there are technology answers, there's process answers, but it really is taking the time to understand what you need to do. The all or nothing approach I heard there, we've tried it, right? You want to do something quick and you want to do it fast, those are the results you're going to get. As we start to look into the future too with this, Jim, what are our customers going to be doing with that data now once they got it cleaned up?
Well, hopefully, a lot of it's going to be used to help them in their trending, metrics in terms of what their line of business accomplishment is or what their goal should be, help them see where things are fading and where things are rising in terms of their industry. So that's where, the data integrity is really the most important component.
Well, Becky, after talking about some of the solutions we've had, what have we seen when we didn't have the right solution right away? What did that cause our teams?
It just was a process that fell through the cracks, wasn't being managed very well, and that resulted in a quarter of full-time effort to get that up and running, get it organized, get the data structured. Had we not done that and not put in that effort, because that effort was needed to get that to the point, we wouldn't have been able to do a system migration with that data. It would have been very, very difficult. And then we would have come over to our new system and had the same problem we had before. And now we're able to manage it. It's visible to a ton of people. There's a lot of eyes on it. And it's been going smooth now.
The cost of an employee for an entire quarter, that's a lot. And when we did that at the time, that was a little while back. Nowadays we could be using other technologies that are out there.
Yep.
leveraging AI, leveraging, other solutions to grab that information that was not entered or cleaned up. We are continuing to see the use of AI on old images. So paper's not dead. We continue to see back file conversions coming in from our customers with records that are 100 years old, and they're looking for ways to grab that information, and they can't put human on that to take all that information in. That would take years to get that information the way it is. But leveraging AI and humans, we can do, quality control and validation and, confidence ratings to get those jobs done timely, especially when they're needed for an agency or a company. Jim, on the technical side here, you maybe want to talk about how we've been blending some of the technologies for our customers?
Sure. So a lot of our customers use AI. So AI is many things to many people. So it's kind of a multi-headed monster. Really, when you come down to it, it's all use-based. So we've had customers where they knew they could use AI to do the data extraction, pull out pertinent information. But once they had that information, it still required a lot of manual steps. So you couple that potentially with RPA. And now that RPA has a set of rules that a person, you or I, would be sitting there at a terminal, typing away, is automatically doing this. So you're talking about thousands and millions of records just blowing through at a fraction of the time that it would take, even if you were to send it offshore. So the big win is not just one item, but it's how you couple those pieces together to end up with the desired goal. And then once you have that data that you've extracted and cleaned and validated and pulled into your source, now you're ready to roll.
That's pretty cool. A lot of what we've talked about today is cleanup, because that is what we're seeing. People didn't think ahead. They didn't know. These tools weren't there when they were putting the data in the way they had it. But as you get that data cleaned up, as you continue to work towards a solid structure and a platform within your organization, that's when you start to look for what's next. So you have the tools. Get it right the first time. Don't put the effort in. Put that investment into getting to where you need to go a little bit faster. I really do think this was a pretty good chat here today, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this. I know I enjoyed the beer. 2 4s and a 5 for our North Dakota Drecker Chunk beer. I think I got that one right.
Yeah, Chunk Sunday Sour with strawberry and white chocolate. It was great.
It was great.
I like it.
So thank you, Becky, for bringing it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining Jim.
All right.
And thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
This episode, first off, we rated the North Dakota Drecker Chunk beer, which was a sour. And we talked about not letting data hold you back. We looked at what we've been doing for our customers, how we got there, ways to prevent it, and looking at the future using new technology.